Hey, this is Bishop Jackson on Affinity Xtra, where we do extraordinary things. Hey, I want to say that our station is doing leaps and bounds of entertainment and edutainment across the airwaves. And I want to give maximum respect to all our presenters and our station leader, if you like, our CEO, which is Mr. Roger Moore, who is also one of the exciting managers of the future, and he needs £1 million contract because we just want him to have £1 million so he can share it out with all the rest of us. And as a bishop, he's got to send me my tithes. So if he gets that £1 million contract, I'm good. So I just want to say also, thank you, Roger, for community engagement in football, because not a lot of people know that, but it's a hard thing to do. And I want to big up you and all the rest of them who are doing community football across Birmingham and across this country. Hey, I've written my book. I'm just showing you it for a moment. This is my book, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. I'm going to do 2 shows about it, maybe probably in November, but I'll share that with you. It's called The Power of Agreement. So in Rock Solid today, I'm doing the second part of remembering and honoring the beauty of eldership in the Black community. It might be shorter than that, but I just want to reflect on that for a moment. Last few weeks I've been sharing in my church, and if you want to check that out, that's NTCG The Rock, and you can go on YouTube and you can find that if you want, or you can come in person. Just make sure you come with a praise. So listen, I've been thinking about honoring and remembering our elders. I've been at so many funerals and I've been hearing the testimony of what they did, from what amazing things they did, and I'm just saying to myself, to God be the glory. This is a great generation that we have sometimes forgotten their sacrifice for us. So let's talk about it. So I thought about 2 Chronicles chapter 10, and I was looking about how King Rehoboam goes and empties himself of wisdom. He has the elders, the best elders of that generation, because they're wise. In times before, the elders in the Bible were foolish and they gave foolish advice, but in this context, the elders are so wise that it's remarkable that the redactor has to record the wisdom of the eldership in this generation. And this is because they have experiential knowledge. They experience so much and they were able to share their knowledge. And so in 2 Chronicles chapter 10 and verse 1 through to 19, that is a reflection on the demise of leadership that became the demise of Israel, splits Israel in two, makes north and south, and then they get destroyed by the Assyrians and the Babylonians, which is inevitable because they fell away from God. And I think that's a big message for us, that eldership, in my view, our elders were so godly and respectful that even if they weren't Christians, they respected the organizations. They poured themselves into it, and we became wiser because you understood the dynamics as a church of community and church, because you had community partners. I think today we've got too many divisions, and we need to just equalize those divisions a little bit better so we hear the voice of the people in the pews and also in the pulpit, and from the pews to the street. We need to have that connection of knowledge and messages. So in my conversation, I thought about the eldership being the ones who bring life experience to counsel. I thought that was a good point to make. And then I also thought about the eldership being those who rest amongst us, who give patient reflection in counsel. They give patient reflection, because I talk about impetuousness at times. And I'm referring also in the background to blackness as an assignment, which is by scholar and great theologian George Wilmore. I just love how he shares about blackness being an assignment. And I reflected upon the eldership, black eldership being an assignment as well. And so I wanted to reflect upon, when we talk about elders being in the Bible, those who are grave sober, temperate, sound in faith, sound in charity, that means sound in love, sound in patience. And that's from Titus chapter 2, verse 1 through to 8. You can read that for yourself, because that's an amazing scripture that reminds us about when Paul talks about when you have elders in the church, this is their responsibility. And so sometimes I feel like we've given away the responsibility of eldership to counsel, to mentor, and to guide the younger generation. And I think that more than ever they need it today. And so as we're moving on into the end of this year, and some of you just want this year to go because it's been so harrowing for you. So one other thing that I wanted to say about eldership, first of all, I wanted to say one is I think patient reflection helps us give better responses. Patient reflection. When we are going through a time that is egregious to us or challenging to us in education, in community, in church, those are areas that have been challenged. And we look today at the matter of race, and we look at people bringing different angles. We've got the angle of COP26, the angle that all the black and brown people are going to suffer worst from climate change. They're going to suffer worse from climate change. So some of our, I suppose, more suburban and intellectual groups, I won't say all of them, but I would say quite a few of them, are suggesting that we need to make sure or get on the campaign to bring the temperature down from 2 degrees to 1.5. And so some of us are saying, okay, we are getting on the Greta Thunberg, that child who looks like she needs to be beaten and sent to her bed. I shouldn't say that, but anyway, she just looks like she needs to go to her bed because she looks vexed every moment. You know, like if it was a black youth, their mother would send them to bed and say, take a moment to sleep. So Greta, young woman, cussing out all of the world leaders. But in the midst of COP26, and they're taking pictures of Greta, on a number of occasions, a young black woman was with Greta, stood there, and they chopped her out of every picture. They chopped her out of every picture, so that even in this critical situation that we're in, the black voices are strained to be heard. And then we go further to this, then the Anglicans and Methodists and Baptists and Pentecostals and all church groups are looking at how they deal with racism and misogynism in their churches. And this has been an upheaval. And even now, something that was obvious to everybody by themselves, which is in cricket, where the Asian players are suffering from being held back, which was obvious to everybody except Headingley. Oh, God help them. Obvious to everybody except them. We've got all this moving around us. And I think that one of the things that we need to recognize is eldership has a way of finding a way to manage these circumstances without being sold out to doing nothing. And this is the important part we need to reflect on. Elders, one, they built places of safety. What were those places of safety? The community groups and their churches and their activity groups that they did. They built places of safety. What else did they do? When they realized that the education system was against them, they built education systems for themselves, which were Sunday school. If you didn't know, that was the biggest reading class ever. And then also you can see the Saturday schools as well, which was the supplementary schools. And those were key areas of building an education system that was that counter, it was a counter resistance. It was a resistance against education that belittled and disrespected and was racist in its policy and its educational research structure as well. If you check the research of education in history, then you will find that every time they came across the challenge of educating Caribbean and African and Asian youths, it was said that because their IQ is lower, then they need to be educated in a different way than their white counterparts. hitherto these dangerous schools where they would be shipped off to across London, and then in Birmingham also these remedial schools where many black youths were put in because of cultural diversities that they were challenged with. So the eldership created the Saturday school to give us an idea for the future. They said, listen, if the education system is against you, then you create your own education system. Now check this about this as well. So me as a bishop who is now full-time in my role, I've got to say all respect to my elders. They were patient and they were wise. I am working full-time in a black church as a minister who is licensed to do licensed to kill. No, licensed to give life. So I am licensed, I am ordained, and I have my doctoral degree from all black institutions. Let me give you a bit of an understanding of this. The elders decided that, listen, if you don't want us in your churches, we will make churches for ourselves. We did it in the Caribbean, we did it across the African continent, and we can do it here against all odds, against people don't want them to have school halls. People don't want to sell them the churches. People thought they were too noisy. People thought they were too loud. People thought they were spirited and not spirit-filled. People thought they were full of animisms, which means worship idols and not God, because they were so exuberant in their worship. They did not want it. They did not want tambourines and drums. We needed organs and quietness. And so what they did, created their own model of church that now gives rise to the modern church environment. I guarantee you, every contemporary church environment that has more than a harp in it is following after the Black Revolution of changing church from a high, austere experience to an emotional, beautiful, spiritual experience that embraces the person from wherever they come from. Wow. That is an amazing thing already. And in Rock Solid here, I have to honor my elders for that. Why else should I honor them? It's because not only did they create it, they did not fill them with empty thoughts. They brought as much wisdom as they could to the situation. Now hold on to this very carefully. It must be the greatest record in the world that a group of people that were some were educated and some were not, some were informally educated, work it out. I want someone to do a stat. They must have the biggest amount of graduates from any group that came here economically deprived. They did not come with full economic strength. When they left home, they had to send money home. So in our context of Caribbean and Africa, you are sending money home. They are not sending money to you. They are not sending dollars to you. They're not sending bursaries to you. You are working and sending money home. So watch this. Now you work it out. Now, even though the statistics want to tell you that there's one-parent homes, that all black children are out on the streets selling drugs and all girls are having babies, that's what they're telling you every day. Look more carefully. We have graduates. We have people from every area of industry working from the black community. Well, I can't talk about the Asians and I can't talk about the white. So let me just talk about the black community. We have professors, we have doctors, we have business leaders, we have business planters, we have empowerers, we have educators, we have headmasters, we have teachers. We have leaders of churches, we have bishops, we have professors, we have doctors of divinity. This must be the most productive generation that have ever existed. I'm telling you. And you know I like to big up my own, so don't tell me nothing. And therefore, to me, we're going to have to try and do something very different. One, I think that for us, we're going to have to stop denigrating our eldership. This is my final word to you, because I believe that elders are brought in our environment to bring, my third point was divine wisdom into counsel. And that means God pours into them some divine wisdom. And so what I want you to do to help me now is to destroy all images, destroy them, and do not lift them up of images of our eldership being ignorant, being ugly, being foolish. we need to understand that if we deny the wisdom of our eldership, we deny our own selves. We have no foundations. We have no roots. We are a tree without roots, as Marcus Garvey says. And so one of the key things that I look at when I look at my elders, sometimes I look at how Malcolm talks about his father. Malcolm X's father was a Marcus Garveyite, and they had a Caribbean resolve in them. I want to also talk about Dr. King. I love Dr. King. And so I look at Dr. King's, his father guiding him, and his father having resolve through the fact of his wife being killed, his son being killed, and even his other son being killed as well. But still, Daddy King was a preacher and a guide. And I look at how they manage themselves around the eldership. How James Baldwin talks about his mother, talks about his experience in the home. Fannie Lou Hamer as a senior mother. I just look at those, and I look at Paul Bogle, I look at Sam Sharp, I look at all the ancient fathers of our land, and I look at them very carefully. And I look at them across the continents of where we share from. So what am I saying to you? I'm saying today that final thing is make sure that we understand that elders can bring transferable knowledge. And when they come to us, they come with education and empowerment. They come with leadership, and they teach us how to lament. You know, today what's happening is we are trying to hide our challenges in everything to do with partying. And I'm not one to kill every party. I understand that you have to have a party. I understand that you have to dance candy. I don't know if Roger can do it. I can't do dancing candy. I can't do it ever at all. But I just wonder sometimes, I look at a reception and I don't know whether it's a wedding, a christening, or a funeral. And so I want to say this. One thing our elders learned us how to do is lament properly. Because if you don't learn how to lament and mourn properly, you will have bad mental health. And I think sometimes we need to reflect upon making sure that we're not trying to party over every crisis that we have, rather than learn and be educated and reflect and lament. I think our elders teach us how to lament in times where critical situations can overcome us. They teach us how to lament. So further than this, in our rock solid, I want you to remember, always honor. Don't denigrate the history. Don't allow them to make our women ugly. Don't allow them to make our men ignorant and our elders ignorant. Let us honor them like they should be. They are our soldiers, our generals. They are our golden people that God planted amongst us. Let us now, and remember, if your mama is older or your father is older, don't miss a moment. Make sure that you find them. Make sure that you pray with them. Make sure that you drink a cup of tea with them and listen. Even if they repeat themselves 10 times, you will get the wisdom from it. Hey, listen, take care. This is Bishop Jackson on Affinity Xtra, doing extraordinary things. You are on rock solid. We are on the ball. Take care. Please make sure that you click like and subscribe and connect with Affinity Xtra. God bless you.
What's going on, people? I'm DJ H. Make sure you check out all the stuff Affinity Xtra's got going on, man. We've got loads of content, loads of things coming out. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel, you know. Listen. Don't go anywhere, you know. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe is the main thing. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like it, and share it with your brethren, yeah?